Welcome to Journaling with Nature, the podcast for those who want to turn curiosity into wonder, a pencil sketch into a rabbit hole of discovery, a moment of stillness into a life full of joy. I'm your host, Bethan Burton. Let's open the pages of our nature journals and explore this world together. Hello, this is episode 31. I'm very much looking forward to sharing today's interview with you. My guest is Laura Bertucci. Laura lives in Italy and surrounds herself with houseplants. Not just a few, but plants everywhere, on every surface of her home. She opened up in this conversation about how plants bring her peace and calm in a world where things can get overwhelming, especially when suffering from anxiety and depression. Caring for plants, as well as drawing and painting them, has become a very important part of the way Laura stays calm and safe in this world. Laura's honesty and openness touched me deeply, and by the end of this conversation, I felt like I had made a friend for life. Let's listen. So thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to this conversation.
Me too. Thank you very much for calling me.
Tell me about when and how your connection with nature began. Did you have nature around you even as a child?
Yes, I'm living in the country very close to Venice, so it's North Italy, and I have fields around me, little woods, and I had a very beautiful and big garden. So yes, I'm surrounded by nature. And when I was a child, I really remember that I used to watch many nature documentaries on TV, and my father had many National Geographic magazines. I think he had a whole collection. But my parents were not very keen to nature. I mean, it's strange because they are still watching nature programs on TV, but they have no pets, and I don't think they are very fond of nature. I mean, they never took me to see something special in nature around me. So the connection was mine, was a personal connection. They also used to have many, and they still have many houseplants. I still remember a huge and very tall monstera, deliziosa, and it touched the ceiling and then curved down, and so it was beautiful. And the Sunday routine was watering all the plants and cutting the dead leaves off, the dry leaves. So I've been surrounded by houseplants.
And houseplants, some people, you said your parents aren't fond of nature, but houseplants are a form of nature, just domesticated.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
And now you have an absolute passion for houseplants, and now you've told me where it started with your parents.
Yeah. My parents, my mother actually, of course, she loves houseplants. And the first time I went to live alone, I was 28, I think. I had a very small apartment, just two-room apartment, and it was a jungle. It was a jungle with very easy plants because I just had some pothos. They survive low light and everything, and some peace lilies, but they were everywhere, almost everywhere, trailing in pots. Yeah, because for me, houseplants are joy,
Yeah.
and they are part of my life. I mean, a house without houseplants for me is an empty house.
I have been looking at your work, your blog, and your Instagram page, and you have an absolute jungle even now inside your home. You have all different sizes, different species, hanging plants, plants in pots, plants on every surface, on your
Yes,
windowsill. And I just get a beautiful, happy feeling just from looking at your home in these photographs.
yeah, thank you. I think it's warm. When I
Mm,
come home at night after work or in the afternoon, it's a warm welcome for me.
mm,
With all those plants, lush green. I try to have quite easy plants, not too
mm-hmm.
difficult, because I don't have much time on my side, so I don't want to have ugly plants
Mm-hmm.
or drying out or yeah, yellow leaves. I really like foliage. I really like green tropical leaves and that feeling. So, and I love, absolutely love trailing plants.
Mm.
Yeah, like curtains coming from the ceiling. Yeah, it's beautiful.
What a special thing. You have. I want to learn more from you and from your work because you've inspired me. I have a very big garden, but inside my home, I often feel like a little bit trapped and a little bit. Um, it's too indoor, if you know what I mean. And you've inspired me to bring some of the outside in by investigating houseplants.
Well, yes, for me, it's exactly the opposite feeling. For me, my outside, I have a big garden too, a very big garden. But for me, outside is too much outside. Yes, and I like to stay inside. I like to stay
Mm,
indoors. And so this is why I bring all those plants inside.
mm,
All my life, I think since I was a teenager, I've been suffering from anxiety and depression. And this makes it very difficult for me to stay outside,
mm,
out of boundaries, out of walls. I feel very weak when I'm outside. Unfortunately, that's why I'm not walking, I'm not hiking, I'm not traveling a lot. But I always love nature. So I need nature. And that's why I try to take nature inside my house because I
mm.
don't feel comfortable outside.
So the walls of your home feel like a safe
Yes,
place.
yes,
Mm,
exactly, exactly. That's a very terrible limit, and
mm,
I know that because I always see through your feed or nature journalists' feed, and it's so beautiful to explore nature outside, to go for a walk and draw. I go for walks, but just around my house.
mm,
I would really love to be able to go into a forest or a wood in the mountains, but no, that's off limits for me.
mm,
But in these last years, I've learned how to appreciate my limits and make it make me stronger. They make me stronger because I
mm,
know I have the limits. I want to accept them and cope with them
Mm.
and try to find solutions that make me happy and not a victim of my
Yes.
limits.
Yes. And when you're out in the world and you have that anxious feeling, is it something you can pinpoint, or is it just a feeling? Like, is it a fear of something specific, or is it just a feeling of being too spacious or
Yes,
vulnerable?
it's
Mm.
yeah. It's I open air, open
Mm.
spaces. No,
Mm.
it's not for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not for me. It's when something is too open
Yeah.
and I can't see the limits. I feel I feel very sick. I can't breathe. I sweat, and so I don't want to feel bad. I don't
Yes.
want to push myself too much off limits.
Yeah. But it's beautiful that you can create a forest in your home in this way,
Yes,
and your
yes,
plants offer something beautiful and nourishing. And I'd love to read a quote from a blog post you wrote, if that's okay. You
yes.
wrote, "Every single moment I spend with my plants makes my brain switch to a different reality, one that's only mine, where pain and anxiety have no meaning." And you describe how connecting with plants, caring for plants, it's a kind of mental shelter. And these are such powerful articulations of the idea that nature can ease anxiety and depression in us. And I'd love for you to talk about this a little bit, about the solace you find in nature and about this mental shelter that you find when you're with your plants. It's beautiful.
Well, yes, as I told you before, my anxiety makes me overthink
Mm.
everything.
Mm.
Everything is huge.
Mm.
It's like a mountain to climb. But when I'm with my plants, it's like I go back to earth
Mm.
with my feet on the ground and I'm focused on the leaves, on the earth, and maybe on the little bugs that I find on the leaves. Um, and I like to care for my plants. Uh, I have a connection. I I feel it's quite easy to care for them.
Mm.
Um, it's easy for me to understand if they need water or if not, if they need more light. It's like a yes, a shelter for my mind. Same thing with watercolor, because I really need to calm down
Mm.
and to stop thinking of
Yes.
all that's going on.
Yes. So it's a way of anchoring yourself in the present
Yes,
moment. Mm.
exactly. Yes, yes. But at the same time, yeah, present moment, but away from worries
Yes.
and bad things.
Yes. Yes. Oh, so beautiful. And I hear from your words and also from your exploring your work that you have a deep emotional connection with your plants as well, like a heart connection. And it's like you don't distinguish between the love you can feel for plants and the love you can feel for a pet, for example, or for another person. And I'd love to know if that's right, if my sense of your feeling is right, that you can connect with a plant in a really deep way like this on an emotional level.
Yes, as you may understand, I'm not a very social person. I don't have friends. I don't go out very much.
Mhm.
And I find that plants are very helpful.
Mm.
First of all, they don't talk and they don't judge.
Mm.
And yeah, it's easy for me to connect with them. I never speak to them with words,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very easy. It's like we perfectly understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel I have company with my
Yes.
plants.
Yes, there was one picture you had, and it was a beautiful spread of your breakfast and your garden, and you had brought one of your plants out with you, and you said having your plant there for company while you ate breakfast. And I thought that was
Yes,
so beautiful that
yes.
you can find this connection with a plant, and the plant can keep you company.
Yeah, also because during my normal daytime, I meet many people.
Mm.
And in my home, there's always a lot of people. I have two teenagers, girls, and so
Mm-hmm.
they have friends over. And I'm not that kind of person. I
Yeah.
mean, I want to stay calm, silence. So it's very difficult for me to cope with my days because
Yes.
they're so messy and there's so much confusion, and I really need silence. I really need silence, and I think plants are perfect because they don't move, they are
They don't
silent,
ask anything.
they
Yeah.
don't have, yeah, exactly, they don't have a long list of requests. Yeah, it's easy. They just need water and light,
Mm.
and
Mm.
that's all, and that's all.
I love it. I'd love to talk about your art because you've been creating botanical illustrations for less than a year, but you have taken to it like a duck to water. You're making incredibly detailed and beautiful work, and I'd love to know about that. How and why you started botanical art, and how it feels to capture your plants in this way with art.
Well, I have no idea. It was a surprise for me. I've always kept journals
Mm-hmm.
of my plants. Some years ago, I used to have a very big orchid collection. So I used to write down the names of all the orchids, when I bought them, when I changed the soil, when they bloomed. I used to keep all the information in a journal. And I decided, why not try to draw them?
Mm.
But for all my life, I was sure I couldn't draw anything, not even a line, because I've been studying on books, many different subjects, but never drawing, never art.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to myself, okay, let's try to write down some information about my plants and also try to picture some of them. And it was funny, but also it was something very strange because in the end it turned out something quite beautiful and
Mm.
nice, even if I don't have any background in art and I never took a class and I know nothing about media, watercolors, colored pencils, nothing. So I chose what was convenient for me in that moment, what was more comfortable for me. And at the beginning, I used to mix everything: pencil, watercolor. I didn't have a clue about the kind of paper I should have
Mm-hmm.
used. And then when I saw that my drawings were getting more and more beautiful, I won't say beautiful, but
Mm, you can. They are beautiful.
lookable, if that's even a word. I started to um, investigate deeper
Mm-hmm.
into media, into paper, and I started to look into Instagram or different websites, And I realized that there's a whole world of
Yeah.
botanical illustration. And so I studied because I have an academic approach to everything in my life. So I want to
Okay.
study everything I like, I study. I study everything that I like. So I started to study watercolor because this is
Mhm.
the most commonly used medium for botanical illustration. And I'm just trying. And then I decided to join a couple of schools online
Mhm.
because I want to improve my techniques. But the best thing I've learned is that art is not a talent,
Yes.
it's a skill.
Yes, you've said it perfectly. Yes. And that's so important for people to understand because, like you, so many people don't pick up a pen or a pencil or a paintbrush because they have this thought it's not me, I'm not an artist, but you can be. You can
Yes,
be.
yes. You can be an artist, especially if your heart is open when you
Yeah.
create. You don't have to make perfect works. But if your feelings are there and if people can see your feelings through your drawings, I think that's the best thing you can do.
Mm. Mm.
Even if
And
your technique is not adequate, is not okay, even if you never studied.
yes, and your technique just gets better and better the more you do it. That's as simple as it is.
Yeah,
You're
yes.
creating a beautiful works. When I read that you had been doing this for less than a year, I was confused because you're making such beautiful pictures. And I wonder how you feel about that. You must be so proud of what you're
Yeah,
creating.
yes, I'm surprised of myself
Mm,
and I'm very proud. I'm very
mm,
proud of myself because my family and I was also inclined to think that art was I don't know how to express this, maybe a waste of time
okay.
because yeah, it's not productive.
It's not practical. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand. Mm-mm.
yes. Um, so it's yeah, if I took half an hour for me when I was a teenager to draw, no, it wasn't possible. I was wasting my time. I
Mm.
should have studied or cleaned my home or do something more practical, no? And so that's why I've never approached drawing because I had to study. I had to study. That's what,
Interesting.
yeah, that was a waste of time.
And how did you overcome that feeling? How did you get past that feeling to the point now where you realize that it isn't a waste of time, that it is important?
Because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yes, because I'm really tired of all that's going on around
Yeah.
my life, around the world.
Yeah.
And I think that 30 minutes or 1 hour of my day is not a waste of time.
Yeah.
If I dedicate some moments for myself,
Mm.
I finally understand that it's okay and it's a beautiful thing because I've always been doing things for others, thinking about my family first, what I needed to do on my job, and what about myself.
Yes.
And thanks to the pandemic, I had some, I had more time for me. I mean, I had the whole day.
Mm.
And so I cleaned the house, I did everything, and then what? Why not drawing?
Mm.
And so now I'm quite in peace with myself, quite. Not completely. In fact, I usually draw after dinner when everything else is accomplished
Mm,
and okay, when everything is clean, is ready, and the girls are ready for going to bed, and
mm.
the pets are fed, and everybody is okay,
Yeah,
then
then
I
time for
draw.
you.
Yeah, time for me.
That's interesting. And isn't it also the case that when you gift that time to yourself, that you have more energy to support other people? I find that with myself, that if I forget to make art, if I forget to go outside or forget to nature journal, that I get, it's more like a grind, like you're grinding through the day, get this done and get that done. But then if I take half an hour and go outside and take my pencil and do some nature journaling, I feel stronger. It doesn't feel like a grind, and I'm more able to do the things for other people or the things that need to be done around the house because I've filled myself a little bit, and
Yeah,
then I can keep
exactly.
going.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, I feel less tired.
Yeah,
Sometimes I tell to myself, maybe I should go to bed because I'm really tired.
yeah.
And then I say, no, okay, I'll try to draw for half an hour. And I'm not tired anymore. I could go
Mm.
on for the whole night. I don't feel sleepy anymore because I'm doing something that I like and that makes me feel good finally at the end of the day.
That's beautiful. I'm wondering if you feel like drawing a particular plant helps you know it in a deep way. When you're illustrating one of your beloved houseplants, do you feel like you begin to know it even more deeply than you did before?
Yes, I discover veins, little veins, and I discover the changing of colors because the green changes through the plant's life.
Mm,
When the leaves are younger, the leaves are pale, are or maybe the green is more vibrant, and then it becomes darker. Then sometimes they become yellow,
mm-hmm.
and but the yellow is also beautiful, and
Yes.
they may have brown edges, and they are part of their life. So many plants, they change color, they change shape according to light, according to the place where they live. In fact, I usually turn my pots maybe once a week so that I can shape the plants that I have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they lean towards the light. So
Mm,
yeah, they move. They're not they are they are not just there. They live. They are living
yes.
creatures. Yeah.
Wow. The way you speak about tending to the houseplants is so beautiful. And you wrote on a blog, you wrote, observe carefully always. This is the only way to know someone deeply. And it it really touched me because it really is the way that you observe, like, why are these leaves yellow, or why is this plant wilting, or it's a real tender care that you offer the plants. And in that observation, you're giving you're giving a beautiful attention. It reminds me of how we care for babies, because babies can't speak. They can only indicate with in certain ways what they need, and our job is to be attentive and to listen and observe. And I love that you do that with your plants. It's beautiful.
And to see the changes.
Mm.
Yeah, when you know something or someone very well, you can detect the even the little changes
Mm.
in their
Yes.
attitude. So maybe something is changing Maybe the light is not enough. Maybe you gave your plants too much water, too little water, or there's something wrong. The seasons are changing, and so the inclination of the sun is different. It's hot, it's cold. Yeah, they are not just there in the pot. They are living creatures. They breathe and they react to the outside world.
I love the way you are with plants. It's really inspiring and beautiful. I notice in your Instagram posts that you often mention color and color combinations in your plants. And I am passionate about color, and I'm always amazed how nature presents colors together, that they're just such in beautiful combinations.
Yes.
And I'd love to speak about color. You've mentioned about all the different greens that a plant can have in its life, and I'd love to talk about color with you, how you feel about it and how you understand color.
Well, green is of course my favorite color for
Yes, me too.
just for drawing, because I don't wear colors a lot. I'm mostly black and gray, But green is a color that I love to explore and to make it, and I try all these swatches.
Yes.
Yeah, I try with all the blues and different yellows that I have, and I make different colors. At first, they used to turn muddy. Every green I had used to turn muddy, but now I think I understand better how to deal with colors, with all the different colors and shades. And I've read somewhere that in nature there are almost, I think, 200 different shades of green.
Wow.
And that's amazing.
Yes.
And then I have a strange thing that, I don't know, I have many colors on my palette. I almost never clean my palette. From one drawing to the other. I always keep the colors there. And when I start a drawing, I start to mix the colors almost perfect, I think, and try to find the colors. And then I have a habit. It's an unconscious. I realize it later that I don't know how or why, but I need to clean my palette. So I used all the colors that were there from drawings that I made before. So even colors that they are not in my drawing, but I succeed in matching them as well. So yeah, I don't know, I always use greens, yellows, browns. But even if I don't know, I have a pink and I'm drawing just a green leaf, I'm using that pink. I don't know,
yes.
I like to play with colors.
Yes, and it's very interesting to me also when you start to look at colors more deeply. You find pinks in amongst things, or you find an orange here where you just thought it was a solid green. When you start to get a sensitive sort of looking, you find colors that you didn't know were there until you started to look.
Yes, because light gives everything different shades. I think I can find any colors everywhere. We think that shadow is gray. No, it's not.
You're right.
It's made of all the colors that surround the object. So a shadow can be yellow, can be pink, can be red, can be green, can be any color.
Yes.
It's just an observation, because sometimes we have some ideas in our mind and we think they are the true ideas, but they are not. If we start to observe, then we really see colors, we really see light, and we have to just erase the ideas that we already have in our minds.
Yes. Are you able to articulate what you said that before, that you started with muddy greens when you were mixing and now you understand it? Are you able to explain what you do differently now from when you were mixing muddy colors, or is it just an intuition that you can't explain?
Well, I think it's practice,
Yeah.
of course, and then maybe I'm more careful of
Mm-hmm.
starting with a color and then adding drops of the other. So I'm starting with a blue, maybe a cobalt blue or Prussian blue, and then I add just a little bit of yellow and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Yes, okay. Bit by
Okay?
bit.
Yeah, bit by bit. So I try to understand how it works bit by
Yes.
bit. Yeah, yes.
Do you always mix your greens, or do you have some prepared greens on your palette as well?
Well, I usually have sap green. That's
Mm-hmm.
the one that I prefer. But then I always need to make it darker or lighter or brighter. And so I start to add. Uh, I've studied. I've studied what colors I need to add to make it duller or brighter, but then I just take my way and add whatever I think
Yeah.
it's better to add.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I had a funny relationship with color. I was using watercolor for years without knowing what I was doing with color mixing, and often thinking, "Oh, I want to mix that color and I don't know how," or trying and failing. And then I studied color mixing and color theory, and now I feel like a real freedom because I understand it and I've gotten to know it much more deeply, and now I just mix my colors. I don't have green on my palette, but still is an intuition to it. So I know it's a mixture of like head and intuition, if that makes sense. So
Yes,
I'm doing it from a place of knowing the theory and also then just a bit of this and a bit of that
trying.
as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
just trying how it feels to mix
Yeah.
a different color. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I love color so much. I love color on the page, but I also just love the play of it, the play of mixing color.
Hmm. Me too, yes.
So you touched on it a little bit before, but you have a job that keeps you really close to the pandemic and the ups and downs of it, and I'd love to talk to you about the pandemic and how it's affected you and your work, and how I know that as a sensitive person and as a person who doesn't feel who feels anxious amongst all the hustle and bustle, I wonder how you're coping and how it's going for you.
Well, my life has changed completely during the pandemic because
Mm,
before was March of last year.
yes.
I used to have a job, a company. I used to run a company with my husband. Um, I've had this company for around 20 years.
Mm,
We started this company together, and it was a school for policemen, the army, and police officers. And we had a very, very good business. In March, everything stopped.
mm,
Everything stopped. For a couple of months, we were just waiting to see what was going to happen. And then we understood that we had to close down the company.
mm.
So we both lost the job. And it's been a very hard time. And depression hit my husband
Yeah.
because his job was traveling around the world to teach people. And all of a sudden, he was closed in the house and couldn't move. So he started with depression and just went away in August. He packed everything and went away. So I found myself alone with no job and with the girls.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough, and I'll be grateful forever, that I found this job in the biggest COVID hospital around Venice, in the RSU office, and I was very scared. I started this job end of August after 20 years of being the boss and having people around me that I had to organize, and I had to, it was my business.
Yes.
In 2 months, I had to change everything, and I had a badge to enter and go out, and I had very fixed times from 8 in the morning to 6 p.m. It's very long, and it's quite far from house. It's 30 minutes drive. So my girls had to be alone the whole day. They are not little girls. They are 18 and 16, but they were not used to living alone the whole day. So, well, it was a new start for me.
Yes.
I'm not very anxious about it. I'm very proud of myself.
Yes. Good.
I'm very proud of myself because I'm providing my girls with all they need, and I'm also still finding time for myself. And I'm going on. Even if I'm turning 50 in 2 months, I'm starting again.
Yes.
I'm starting again. I was very scared, but I discovered that I'm stronger than I thought.
That's powerful.
So this pandemic is a disaster. It is a disaster. Starting from Monday, we'll be in lockdown again.
Okay.
Next Monday. Yeah. And I'm dealing with doctors and nurses. I hire doctors and nurses, and I talk to them. And also I try to keep everybody calm, because I find that we are all very anxious.
Yes.
But there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. This is a present situation that is not up to us. We cannot decide what to do. We cannot decide to close or open the shops or the borders of our cities. So we just have to cope with that and trying to be careful, wearing masks, washing hands, and all that stuff. And I'm sure that sooner or later something is going to happen. I mean, we cannot keep on like this forever. Something is going to happen, and I can see maybe some positive things through this pandemic. Maybe we've discovered a different meaning to time, people, ourselves.
Yes.
Because we are measuring with so many strange things. and everybody is trying to adjust to this new life.
Yes. Do you feel like everyone's got a new sensitivity to others? Maybe. I feel like there's a sort of an understanding that everyone's going through a hard time, and so maybe people are being more gentle with each other. Do you feel that?
No.
No.
No. No, because I feel it depends. It depends on the persons. Because some persons, yes, they are more sensitive and they uh, came closer to nature.
Yes.
But I can see many people, they are angry.
Yeah, stressed and upset.
Yes, they are angry. They are not tolerant with others because maybe because they lost their jobs, they have problems with money. Maybe they have I don't know, maybe members of their families are sick. So there's these two opposite feelings, and I can see that many people are very angry, very angry, very angry, and they cannot understand what's going on, and they don't accept what's going on.
Yeah. And that's a normal emotional response to trauma and tragedy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also, yeah, you can decide how to react to things. You can decide. You have the power of your life and of your reactions. So you can decide whether you can create something positive even during a bad and awful period, or you can decide to be sad and angry with people. It's up to you how you deal with your life. For me, at least, the pandemic has been economically speaking, a disaster. I had and I will have, I think, for years, many economic problems. But at the same time, I think I was the happiest person ever because for the first time in my life, I could stay in my house without everybody telling me, why don't you dress up and go out? I finally could say, I must stay home.
Yes, an introvert's dream.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I could finally stay in the house with no justification. The hard times came when lockdown was over. And so we started to take the first step outside after 2 or 3 months in the home with different rhythms. We had to start all over again and stay out 12 hours a day and work and talk to people. And I think that was very stressful for me.
I feel like more people are coming to creativity and nature through this, and maybe it's a reaction to the fear and needing something solid to hold on to or something nourishing for the soul. Do you feel that too?
Yes, something that is not changing. Yeah, something that is not changing. Nature is still there. Spring is there.
Yes.
Seasons are changing. The sun is shining or it's raining. Nature doesn't really care about COVID.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, everything is going on. The world is going on.
Yes, and through creativity and connection with nature, we can tap into that as well a little bit, or for just a moment, or just half an hour, or
Yes,
and that feels
yes,
safe, that
because
feels
that's
good.
what surrounds us. And when we had to be closed in our walls or in our garden, for the lucky persons that have a garden, that was all you had.
Yes,
A window and the trees that you could see outside the window.
yes,
So that's the connection with nature is, of course, stronger. And since you had a lot of time, free time, many people started to do creative works to spend the time and to connect with nature and with ourselves more.
yes. I'm loving this conversation. I
Me
feel
too.
because you are a sensitive person and I'm a sensitive person, I can feel when you speak about nature and when you speak about art, I can feel it inside me as well, and it's beautiful. I
Thank
wonder,
you.
I wonder if because I said before, you've inspired me about starting to bring a little bit of the outdoors inside my home with houseplants, and I don't know where to start. And I wonder if you could tell me if someone wanted to start keeping houseplants but they were a complete beginner like me, I wonder what you would advise.
Well, first of all, easy plans, of course.
Okay.
Okay, but I think that you are very fond of nature outside,
Yes.
and so I think it's going to be quite easy for you because my advice when you take any kind of house plant inside is first of all to understand that they are not house plants. They are plants
Yes.
that have their own habitats, usually in rainforests, South America or Asia. So I think the first thing you could do is to study where they come from
Mm.
so that you can understand their requirements because they are tropical plants. So houses are not, of course, the ideal condition for them. So we need to understand what they have and what they receive in nature.
Mm.
Of course, the most important things are light and water, but maybe light more than water, because with light they can make their own food through photosynthesis. And then we should understand where they are living in nature. Mostly they are living in forests,
Mm-hmm.
tropical forests, but that doesn't tell a lot because forests are made of very tall trees, but also very little plants that live in the shadows of the trees. So you should understand what kind of plant you have in your house. Orchids, they usually climb over trees, so they need a lot of light. But there are also terrestrial orchids that live on the ground, so they need less light. So the first
Mm-hmm.
thing for me is when you see a plant that you like, you have to pick the plant that you like, visually like,
Mm-hmm.
and that you feel something. Doesn't matter if it's easy or difficult. And then study and investigate where she's living in nature, her habitat, and try to recreate the conditions in your house. So choose the right window.
Mm-hmm.
According to the season, you may you may move the plant
Yes.
during the year according to the season. Usually, most plants do well in, for you, north-facing windows,
Mm-hmm.
correct? They need a lot of light, but not direct sun. So investigate nature. You love outdoors, so
Yes.
investigate their habitat.
That's beautiful advice. Yeah, tune into the plants and investigate their
Yes.
natural needs. That's beautiful.
I don't think you should just, yeah, I started my conversation, my answer saying choose the easiest plants.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's, no, I don't think it's
Okay.
correct. It's just the standard answer. But then
Yeah.
I thought that no, you just need to find the plants that,
Tune in.
yeah,
Mm.
yes, that speaks to you.
Yes, and you have a blog post and it's called There's No Such Thing as a Black Thumb. And I love this because there's often people who say, "Oh, I can't do plants. I kill all the plants." And you advise in your blog post that we have this inbuilt biological connection with nature and that we are removed from that by our daily lives, by our screens, by our, the modern life that we have,
Yes.
but it's inside us. And I
Yeah,
love that. And it's so true that we are biological beings. We're animals built for survival, and we're built for nature. We're built for tuning into nature. And
exactly.
in your blog post, you describe this like
Hmm.
you just have to stop and tune in, and
Yes,
your own nature is still there.
yes. We have lost the connection with nature because if we want to know what's the weather like, we just pick up our phones
Yes.
and look at the weather forecast. And I almost never do that. I go outside and look at the sky.
Mm.
If it's cloudy, I will find clouds. And if it's going to rain, I can feel the moisture in the air.
Mhm.
And we should just free our senses. I love the only time when I love to stay outside is when it's dark
Okay.
at night. Maybe it's not night, just 5 o'clock in the winter
Mhm.
time, but
Mhm.
it's dark. When it's dark, I feel
Wow.
safe, and I see that during the night there are different animals than the day, and the leaves on the trees are different. The trees sleep. I didn't know that. I found that out few months ago, that the trees go to sleep. So you can see almost a silver shine if you look at the trees because the leaves close. The leaves are like solar panels during the day, but at night they go up and close
Wow.
to store energy. So if you look at trees at night, you see they shine, they are silver, shiny. And then there are creatures coming out at night, hedgehogs, or I have frogs in my pond, or spiders. I hate spiders, but I can see that some spiders, they just go out at night, and I can hear different birds,
Mm.
night birds. So there's a whole world in during the night.
Mm.
And if we just try to connect, maybe at night it's easier because there's no traffic, there's less traffic,
Yes.
there's less noise coming from outside, so we can hear nature. We can hear the wind blowing, we can hear the leaves falling in the fall. I don't know. I think, yeah, the connection with nature is inside us.
Yes, it's about taking the time to focus on it, isn't it?
Yeah, but also observe.
Yes.
Don't take the tree for granted because you see it every day. It's beautiful to see the changing of the seasons. And now it's spring, almost spring here. So the leaves are coming back and nature is changing. And we should really listen and see nature. That's the only way we can save our souls, I think.
Laura, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like you have just opened up with such honesty and such vulnerability, and you're speaking about things that often we don't speak about. And it's so important because these things are things that people feel, and when they're articulated, we touch each other, we touch other people. And I'm so privileged to have had this conversation with you.
I
Thank
was
you.
so happy, so happy. I have no words to explain.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Laura. I was touched by the way she spoke with such openness about her anxiety and the difficulties of life, and how caring for plants and making artwork of plants is her mental shelter. I think this phrasing is so important, and it made me think about what I consider to be my own mental shelter. Nature absolutely is part of my mental shelter, and art absolutely. Having a place that we can find shelter from the things that are scary or overwhelming or unmanageable in the world, or just a shelter from our own thoughts, which honestly can be the scariest thing out there sometimes. This sanctuary is so important. For you, it might be your nature journal, or walking in nature, or cups of tea under a favourite tree, or it might be coloured pencils moving across a fresh white page. Whatever it is that gives you that feeling of sanctuary, I'm wishing that for you, today and every day. Please take good care. See you next week.